Good evening, everybody. We're going to start this meeting. It is now 6:32. We'll begin, and all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Lau will lead us.
Hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Russell.
Councilmember Lau.
Present.
Councilmember Crosby.
Here.
Councilmember Carter.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Present.
Mayor Hepburn.
Present. There it is. We have a presentation today. Presentation of proclamation proclaiming the month of April 2022 as Donate a Life Month. Good evening, Ina. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Good. This is Donate Life Month, so we are going to do a proclamation. Whereas organ tissue, marrow, and blood donations are life-giving acts recognized worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need, and whereas more than 100,000 individuals nationwide and more than 20,000 in California are currently on the national organ transplant waiting list. And whereas a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestine can save up to 8 lives. And whereas millions of the lives each year are saved and healed by donors of organs, tissues, marrow, and blood. And whereas over 17 million Californians have signed up with the state-authorized Donate Life California Donor Registry to ensure their wishes to be organ, eye, and tissue donors are honored. And whereas California residents can sign up with Donate Life California Donor Registry when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID cards at the California Department of Motor Vehicles. And now therefore I, Tim Hepburn, Mayor of the City of Laverne, do hereby proclaim the month of April 22 as DMV Donate Life California Month. In the City of Laverne, and in doing so, we encourage all Californians to check yes when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID card, or by signing up at www.donatelifecalifornia.org. Ina? Thank you, and you have a few words to say?
I am an ambassador for One Legacy, and this is my daughter who's 38. She is on her 3rd kidney transplant. I was her first donor. I was a living donor 35 years ago. So Sarah's doing well because of her 3rd transplant, thanks to some families that said yes to donation when their sons passed away the last 2 transplants at a very difficult time. So thank you for supporting organ tissue and eye donation. It does make a difference. It has made a difference in my daughter's life. You can't tell that she's been sick. She's doing well. And thank you for supporting us. And if you want to make a difference, it doesn't matter your age or religion or anything like that. You can do it at the DMV, or like the mayor said, you can go online to donatelifecalifornia.org. Thank you.
I know. We were talking outside, and you said that the last few years have actually been better. Is that correct?
A banner year for transplants nationwide, which shocked me because of COVID, but transplants still going up.
Well, and with our ID cards too, all of us should be mindful of that. And I know I just did mine and put the little pink dot. It's been on there for many, many years, but renewed with California ID. So very important. This is something that's dear to everybody's heart, that we can save multiple lives. And you said, you know, that's important. So thank you so much for what you do in your organization. Thank you. We have announcements. We have one announcement, is that correct? Sherry Best and George May.
Next, George.
Women first, always.
That's the George and Sherry show. Have lots of announcements. Anyhow, I'm Sherry Best, President of the Laverne Historical Society, and I want to announce some activities that are happening in April. We are very busy this month. On the 9th of April, this Saturday, we will be joining Laverne Heritage at their Spring Fling Fair as a vendor. That was hard to say. We'll be selling t-shirts, books, and vintage collectibles. The fair will be open from 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon and is located at Heritage Park. So do come up and have an opportunity to look around and see what the other vendors are selling and maybe buy a little something from us. So we'll be there supporting the cause. Now on the 23rd of April, I also want to support the community yard sale, which is sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be at the Bonita High School parking lot. And once again, we will be selling our items. All of the proceeds from our sales go to restoring, the 1938 International truck. So we're putting all of our resources into truck rehab. So I would also like to announce that Hillcrest Retirement Community is starting to open up to visits by members of the community. And just last week, I helped put together a presentation, an exhibit in the Welcome Room. And the Welcome Room this month is featuring history of and contributions by the Latina community. It's complementing a display of artwork by Rose Calderon called Fragments of a Chicana's Life. That's in the upstairs gallery. But the Welcome Room is located downstairs in the administration building. And if you would like to visit, you go check in at the concierge desk, present your proof of vaccination, wear an indoor mask, take your temperature to access the facility because they're very careful about keeping their seniors safe. That's good. The Welcome Room is open 7 days a week from 8 until 4:30, and the contribution of the Historical Society is a case full of artifacts from the Palomares family. So we have some very interesting things that are in the glass case, including a branding iron, clothing that had belonged to one of Ignacio Palomares' nephew's 6 daughters. And so we've had these things for a long time, and now they're out there for people to take a look at. Do mark your calendars. On the 7th of May, we are once again going to do our Get on the Bus tours. Hillcrest loans us one of their vehicles, and Bill Lemon, the city historian, and I take people around and we look at places of interest in the city of Laverne. We're going to make 3 tours on that day. One of those tours will be members of Wood's facility, and so they will be separated. We'll have a second tour for Hillcrest residents, and then a third tour for members of the Laverne Historical Society. So that's the deal I wrangled in order to get the bus, and then maybe next year we can open it up a little further, who knows. I'd also like to point out that the Pomona Concert Band is giving its spring concert on Sunday, May the 1st at the band shell at 3 p.m. at Ganesha Park. So I highly recommend that you come to these things. They're really interesting, and now is the chance we can start to get back together and do things. So we are kind of turning it loose a little bit with the Historical Society and our activities. Stay tuned, there's more to come.
Sherry, real quick, how are we doing on the donations as far as the truck, and where are we at with the restoration? I know the engine was going to be ready soon or something.
Yeah, the frame is going to go in to complete the repair of the frame, and then we're contracting with a group. They're going to hang the engine, put in the transmission, and by next fall, the truck will go back to the shop, the high school shop, and the kids will start installing onto it. So, but my plan for the 4th is I'd like to get the tires on what's of the truck, get the cab on, and maybe tow it through the parade route. So we'll just have to see, because what it comes down to is time and money, right? Those two variables.
And how do
So
we
that's where
donate?
we're at.
How
And we
do
can
we-
always use more money.
How do we
Yes.
donate for that, Tom?
How do you donate for that?
Yes, please, let everybody know.
Yes, well, give me a call, go on the website, come to any of our events. We do have a GoFundMe page, and so you can go on that and make a donation through GoFundMe. So, and we're a 501c3, so we can certainly give you a cash or a non-cash receipt for your donations. Perfect. Thank
So
you for
basically,
asking.
Laverne, let's get on it and get to donate and get that
Yes.
truck on the road so it runs on its own.
Yes, and yes,
Thank
all
you,
of
Sherry.
that. Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. May?
Being the mayor, council members, city staff, Laverne residents, I've got two things I want to report, both good. Masks are no longer required at the library. They're recommended, but if you don't want to wear one, that's okay. We will still have a supply of masks for those customers who want to get a mask, and we will provide those. So the thing about it is I no longer have to figure out who my customers are. I can now see them. And the second thing is, prior to the pandemic, we had 5 internet stations. And once the pandemic started, they were shut down, of course. But the Friends of the Laverne Library, they purchased 3 new computers and new computer furniture for the library. So right now we have 8 stations, but because of the pandemic, we reduced them down to 3. So now all 8 are going to be hooked up. It might take a week or so, so that's coming up also. So now everything will have full access on eventually, shortly, on the 8 computers that we have. Unfortunately, we still don't have programming because we're still hosting the Sandy and the staff whose library has been closed down because of renovations and upgrades. So that's coming up also. I just don't have an exact date, but so no masks, and computers will shortly be available for everyone.
Thank you, Mr. May, appreciate it. Do you have anybody from the announcements from someone outside? Mr. Ivy, good evening.
Good evening.
I want to say, Mr. Ivy, that we were talking outside, that I do appreciate your involvement with the Applebaugh Page situation. You were active on the calls, as a lot of the residents were, and it worked out in our favor, so I appreciate all the work you did on that too. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And it took all of the residents to come together, so it's a fantastic job. So we all need a round of applause for that, by the way. I just want to spend just a second talking about CASI, our great cultural awareness and social inclusion committee here in the city. And we have a meeting coming up this Wednesday where we're going to be talking about our bylaws a little bit, doing some updates on what's happening in the first part of the year, and then talking about where we're going to go into the future with the rest of the year. And I want everybody to understand that it's okay to call into CASI or join us on Zoom, and how we're doing it. We'll be meeting face-to-face soon. And we just want to encourage everyone to understand that CASI is all about inclusion, making this city the #1 city, not the number 2 or 4, the #1 city in Southern California, certainly out here in the Three Valleys area. And the things we're talking about, of course, is racial issues and police issues and people dealing with disabilities and people dealing with sensitivities. And how do we all come together? How do we all understand one another as we go forward, making this a better place, making this a quality city as it should be. So we invite you all to join us in these calls and in these meetings, and we look forward to you joining us and giving us your thoughts on how we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ivy.
Thank you.
JR?
You can applause.
Anybody else on announcements? Anybody else for announcements? Anybody online? No? No? Yeah. We'll close that, and we will move to consent calendar. Mr. Rusty, has anything been pulled from the consent calendar? Any questions from council on the consent calendar? If not, I could have a motion, please.
I'll move that we accept the consent calendar as written.
I'll second.
Second. Vote, please. Remember, please hold it for the video. Oh, look at that.
I'm not ready to let go.
Thank you, JR. Thank you, council. Other matters, we are mid-year budget update, fiscal year 2021-2022. Mr. Russi.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, actually, Finance Director Marla Clinton will be giving this report to you tonight.
Director Pendleton, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Hepburn, council members. I'm Marla Pendleton, Finance Director, here to give you our mid-year budget update. And basically, this is going to focus on the general fund. The general fund is the discretionary money of the council, and that's where our big concern is. Based on our review of the revenue, we are recommending an increase for revenue of $7 million. And the reason for that, the majority of it has to do with the land sale at Amherst Avenue of 5.6 approximately. And what was recommended prior to the sale is that a portion of this money be set aside for our Section 115 trust we use for future pension benefits. So we're recommending a budget adjustment, $7 million, and then an adjustment, it's not an appropriation, but a transfer of cash to our trust custodian for the 115 trust of $4 million. One of the items that we're recommending increase has to do with building permits, and as that revenue's gone up, that is done by contract services, so we need additional appropriations for that revenue increase. That increase we're requesting is $310,000. We've gone through our expenditures in the general fund. For the most part, we're pretty much where we expected at the mid-year. Few things a little bit out of balance we were looking at. One of them, it was hard to tell, is our contract services for fire. And because the overtime is in the general fund, it was kind of hard to see the revenue related to that expense, and it looked like that department budget was a little bit higher than it should be. And to get more disclosure, accountability on it, I discussed it with the fire chief, and we thought it would be nice to move that into its own fund so that you can see the revenue and expenses together in a fund. For financial statement purposes, we will still merge it with the general fund, but we just want to track it separately to make sure that all our revenue comes in for whatever we spend for contract fire services. So that recommendation is actually put in here to move it. And what you'll notice is we had a revenue budget of $510,000, but based on services done for the year, it's going to be $952,000. So that will be moved into a separate fund, the revenue as well as related expenses. You'll see that it will net all of the expenses and revenue will net to zero, the net effect. Some of that will then have to be transferred back to the general fund because it's for general administrative costs in the general fund. So there's a budget adjustment related to that specifically. Few other minor expense adjustments we're recommending. Nothing too terrible. One of them has to do with services being a little bit less than anticipated in recreation. So we were actually recommending to decrease and increase in that $70,000 of the revenue and expenses for our recreation department. Fire admin is a little bit higher, mostly because of expenses related to COVID, testing that had to go on, administrative type expenses. We're recommending a $70,000 increase. And then across the board, we saw increases in our electric bill, more than what we had budgeted. It specifically stood out in our city building fund, so we're recommending a $40,000 increase in that fund. We've seen it in our other accounts as well, or other funds, but most of those can absorb those increases, so this was the only one that stood out that was significant enough for us to adjust at this time. Capital expenditures, we're on target with that. We're expecting to spend the money that rolled over from the previous fiscal year and projects to be completed. If there's anything that's left at the end of the year, that'll roll into complete for next fiscal year. We're also proposing a budget adjustment for Arpa. So we came to council and had a study session in December, discussed our $7 million Arpa funding that's coming in. We discussed a plan, we got direction from council, and there's a budget adjustment that basically discussed how we're going to spend the money based on that study session, including the premium pay and the revenue, because that was not in the budget at all. So that's in the budget. We have several years to spend it. So anything that's left over at the end of the year, that you spent in year 2 or 3, we'll just roll that over, continue to roll it over so that we can continuously track it and make sure that we're on target and we don't overexpend or underexpend. Because if we underexpend, we have to give it back. If we overexpend, that means it's a general fund expense or some other funding source has to pick it up. So we want to monitor it, keep on track, and make sure that we are within the funding requirements that are given to us. That too is put into its own fund, Fund 290, so that we can track and monitor and make sure that it's spent only for valid expenses.
Then on that, is that reportable? Do you have to report what we spent it on to the government?
Yes, and I wouldn't doubt if there's an audit on that coming. So we
Me
want
too.
to make sure that we are closely monitoring it. It's all in compliance and we're doing the right thing. Let's see. Page 14 is just the transfer that we're talking about, fire, moving that into its own. One of the things also, if you notice on our revenue, sales tax is up. In addition, measure LV taxes is also up. We reported that to the subcommittee, but we also increased that 1.1 million from what we had budgeted. So overall, on page 15, it's kind of a summary of everything that I discussed. To show you the impact on the general fund of all these budget adjustments if you pass our proposed recommendations today. The bottom line is there'll be $4.6 million excess revenue over expenses. $4 million is what we're recommending be set aside in the Section 115 trust for future pension obligations. So there'll be approximately $600,000 left over at the end of the year. We started the budget year thinking that we were going to dig into reserves about $600,000. We're ending, for mid-year, we're thinking we're going to have about $600,000 left over. So it's swung the opposite way. So we're looking pretty good financially, and those are the recommendations I have. Any questions? I'm here to answer them.
Do we have any questions for Director Pendleton before we go to public comment?
And if I could just clarify this one thing, on the contract fire services, just so we understand what that is, that's actually our third party. When we send our firefighters out to do forest fire service somewhere throughout the state or elsewhere, we get reimbursed back that piece. This is about tracking the expense with the actual revenue, not contract fire services in any other way.
Thank you for that clarification.
I can see in your eyes, it's like I'm looking at that going, I got, that's the way to just keep it under wraps and understand where it's coming from, and it doesn't affect the general fund.
Correct.
Yeah, which makes sense. So, any questions before we go to public comments? Thank you, Ms. Pendleton.
Thank you.
We'll open up public comment. Anybody have any public comment on this item? Ms. Beauchamp?
Good evening, Council. I would like to know why the council hasn't addressed when the schools in the district got those parking covers with the solar panels. I don't know, it's been at least a few years that Bonita High School and some of the other schools have that. Why did the city consider doing that to their own facilities? She said that there's been a $40,000 increase in the electricity costs. Why wasn't it considered at that time? And I'm kind of disappointed, Mr. Muir, you work for the Southern California Edison, that you could have bridged that gap to help create that to happen for our city, and now we're behind the 8 ball. So as we know, water drought is going to get much worse. Electricity will definitely be going up. Costs to the residents and city will also be going up. So I would like to know why that wasn't facilitated much sooner rather than wait till we're now in arrears of money. So something to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Anyone else? Mr. Galvin?
Good evening. Just more of a question of clarification regarding the numbers that Director Pendleton just provided regarding the surplus. If I'm not mistaken, I heard that there was a surplus of approximately $4 million. Was any of the ARPA money part of that net effect? Whereas without the ARPA money, would the result have been negative $3 million? Just one clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo. Anyone else? Public comment? Actually, there is one person on, Mr. Maldonado, but the rest is staff. Any other questions?
And no emails.
No emails? Mr. Russi?
Yeah, I'll do my best to answer them, and then Marla, if I miss it, you can get up and click. I'll start with the second one. No, the ARPA money was not counted against that surplus. The ARPA money is all been designated and appropriated for programs specifically, so it's net zero as far as those dollars. We actually will need to come back to council for an appropriation on 2 of those programs because we haven't identified them yet. One is the homeless engagement as well as the outdoor activity improvement. So we're still working through some of those, and also the housing rehab. So we know generally, but we haven't technically appropriated those specific to those programs. But that's not part of the surplus that you're seeing here. The surplus is primarily driven by the $5 million sale of the Amherst property, which was anticipated as part of the fiscal sustainability plan several years ago. Going to the parking covers, I know that was something we looked at several years ago. It was before Sean had come aboard. The difference with the school district, they all received grants to be able to put those in, so it was not a cost factor to them. They were being incentivized to have them put, I don't know if it was done at a state level, an Edison level, whatever the case may be, but it was free for them to put in those projects. We have looked at them. The cost to do it versus the return just wasn't there. We have explored doing them down at the yard first, but we have not looked at doing them like here at City Hall. There is one more thing for the benefit of council that came. We will be, these are all the appropriations for the year, but I would be remiss if I didn't let the council know we've come across a couple of repairs that need to be done at the pool that were brought about after this. So we will be
Again?
Yeah, we are looking at a new heater. Yeah, it is. It's a money pit. So sorry.
A body of water.
Yeah. Throw water and money in it.
And people.
But we are looking close to $300,000 in additional appropriations. Fortunately, 2/3 of that is reimbursable by our agreement with the school district as well as the university. So depending if we can get those bids in place before the end of this fiscal year, we may be back for an appropriation because we really do need to get those repairs done.
Maybe we could lease it out for lobster cooking because it's going to be so hot in the next few months, huh? Manager Duran? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Russi. Any other comments, public comments?
Did I get it all right?
So we're going to close public comment, bring it up to the dais. Council?
I'll go first. I just really have one comment. Everything looks wonderful. Thank you for the way you laid this out, easy to follow. I'm thrilled with the increased anticipation revenue from the LV, Measure LV. Thank you, Laverne, for shopping Laverne, spending your money here. The increase is going to help our city.
You're taking my thunder.
You can say ditto.
Thank you, Councilman Crosby.
And I would like to thank Mr. Russi and Mrs. Pendleton for answering all my questions last week. I really appreciate walking me through this and really appreciate that. And I want to really congratulate the foresight of the previous council for really making sure our pension obligation is going to be covered. I really believe the foresight from that council, from everyone on that council, was really thinking about the future of Laverne and then helping with the ARPA money covering our capital gains, so we put some more money into our pension fund. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. Ms. Spock.
I will say ditto to those points, so I won't repeat them, but I will also say thank you to the staff, especially to, not that you're that new anymore, but our finance director and our chief of the fire department and all of our heads for working together to make this more clear. And I think, you know, the input that you've received, I think is really informing a much better picture for people to follow in terms of the ins and outs of where our money is going. So thank you for that work, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I ditto everything you said. I'm thrilled that Laverne is in the financial health that we're in. I appreciate everybody in the entire staff from frontline to senior management for judiciously, again, managing and utilizing the funds that we provide as a community to operate our city. It's helpful to have city services where we can move on a dime and isolate and identify things like that are coming up, that so $300,000 just doesn't roll us over. I mean, it's a hiccup, yeah, but we're going to be able to manage it. So I'm appreciative of how stable this engine that operates our city works. So thank you all for that, because it's not just Marla, it's not just Bob, it's everybody, everywhere, watching everything we do. I just have nothing but accolades to share with you all. So thank you for this, and I'll just say the plug too, Shop Laverne, because it's doing wonderful things.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Davis. Again, it doesn't happen without the staff, without City Manager Russi, Director Pendleton, Director Shear, Director Igo, Chief Nig, Manager Duran, and then I'm missing one.
Flores.
Chief, our new, how could I forget? We had such a celebration, I was in awe for that, so. Yeah, and to our Chief Flores, but also to our council and also to our residents for, most important thing is keeping your money in Laverne, and that was one of the biggest things we did when it was the pandemic, was stay here, keep your money in Laverne, buy your gas, buy your groceries, shop, pray, you know, and eat. It's very important. I also, even though Mayor Pro Tem Davis and I do get in heated discussions over the pension obligation, I think this 115 trust, this $4 million, is extremely important, because we must stay ahead of the CalPERS. As we all know, if you're reading the paper, there are many cities that are in very, very big financial trouble. And as these years go on, even with the Arpa funds, that's going to go away, and they're still fixed with those, with that situation. So I do appreciate that. I do appreciate the also the 110 trust for the fire department to separate those, especially on the fire services when we go outside. It kind of keeps it its own little pot, so we can keep it out of the general fund, so we can keep track of that, and also keep track of the billing and everything else that we have to get our monies back. So. And also, I think the biggest thing is like I say, Measure LV, as Councilman Carter mentioned, Measure LV and the sales tax. We're rocking it right now, and we need to keep it that way. And I know that these are time, just moments in time, but if we continue, I know there might be an adjustment on property values and things like that, but you know, right now it's good, but we need to be fiscally responsible, which we generally always are. I appreciate that, even though a pool heater goes out for $300,000. But we won't talk. 2 pool heaters, thank you so much.
Division 3 CIF championship, I'm just saying.
But I also do, Mr. Igo, I think we have talked about this before, the challenge is electric charging stations. We must find funds for that, because our community is going to be electric vehicles here very soon. It may take some time, but as we talked about before, our previous Public Works Director said, why do we need charging stations for? We don't have electric cars. It's like, okay, Dan Kesey, yes we do. So again, we'll challenge you to that. I know that you've been looking into it. And also, let's look into why the $40,000 in electricity. I understand that, I know that we've retrofitted and things like that, but I'm sure you're looking into it, why? And to get us up to snuff as far as energy efficiency, more EMS, lights off, more LED, and all those retrofits we possibly can do. And also timing to make sure that things go off and they're not on all night long. So, but other than that, great job. And with that, I think we need a motion on that, or is I'll take a motion?
I'll make the motion that we council approve the proposed budget adjustments in section 115 trust funding as presented in the mid-year budget update fiscal year 21-22.
Second?
I'll second that.
Vote, please. Oh, look at that, JR. Okay, we're good. Motion carries. We have public comments and communications. Do we have anyone for public comments? We open the floor. Mr. Galvin.
First of all, I want to say ditto.
Well said.
That was easy.
That's the thing to say. And so to Marla, I know her hard work. One of the things that I had learned was actually in a conversation with one of the folks to my left, is that the ability for the city to find ways to fund its ideas through their departments, not through a revenue generating standpoint where it's a profit center, but a cost recovery center, I think is absolutely fantabulous. And we need more of that. I think that's just creative financing on how it is you get what you need, where you look for it. But that said, one of the questions that I had as it's coming to election season, and since I pretty regularly attend these, I haven't heard this answer. So I'm gonna ask a question, and this might go to Bob and Bob here. Has it been decided, or has a process been defined for how our next mayor and mayor pro tem will be decided, and the rotation and duration of each term? Like I said, I think going into the election season, it's important for the voters to understand what it is that's going to be going on that's a little bit different of the past. My experience with some conversations I've had recently is there are still a lot of people that don't really understand what is going on. I think we need to work on that forward, but I think just being really clear and transparent about what it is that will come of the 5-district council in the next few months is going to be really important for the voting public. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Capelon. Anyone else? Ms. Bochamp.
Question, I would like to ask JR and the team that does the website, if there's any way that things that are discussed at city council meetings, for example, when Mrs. Carter brought up the veterans chair, I forgot what it was called, the honorary chair. What's the status of that? I mean, that was like 4 or 5 meetings ago, and, you know, we just kind of get left hanging until those of us actually show up and it's here, you know. But if there's something that, there's some kind of status of the different important things that are discussed at the council, can have some kind of an update. And Mr. Rusty, I still have not seen that presentation Chief Nick did at the meeting on the website, available to all people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bochamp. Anyone else? Public comment?
Yeah, thank you.
Where am I? I can't. What am I supposed to click? I don't have a mouse in front of me. Okay. Nothing? Anything else? You're all really quiet. We'll close public comment and move to the dais.
Can I answer a couple of
Yes, please.
As far as the mayor pro tem rotation, it was my vision that that was going to be left to the next council once they were seated to decide. But I, certainly will defer to this council if that's something that they were going to do. The mayor pro tem is in place. Why are you thinking differently?
I know differently. Now, when the change to districting was made, one of the sections of that ordinance prescribes the process for selecting the mayor. So the election is June 6th? 7th. And because the county is running the election, the new council won't be seated until probably early July. So when that council is seated, they will decide at that meeting, once everybody's sworn in, who is going to be mayor and who's going to be mayor pro tem for the next 1 year. And then 1 year following that process, it comes back on the agenda, and the council sitting at that time will decide who's going to be mayor, who's going to be mayor pro tem for the following year.
Once a year?
That's okay. why we have an attorney.
Yeah.
Takes 2 bars.
I know Robin will speak to the status of the water chair when it's her turn to speak. As far as the other presentations and changes, I know the city clerk was looking not just at that one, but any other study session that we have done previously where there was a presentation, and was going to be adding those to that agenda so that they were available. So it's probably taking a little bit of time to get to all those, so I apologize for that.
Okay.
And I know that they're coordinating that also with the update to the website.
Okay.
So those are both in progress.
Thank you.
Robin Carter.
Yes, okay, let me address Donita's question on that. As far as the chair's status, where it is right now, is we have it scheduled for May 16th council meeting. We're gonna do a dedication to the chair. It's being built right now. I did see the updating progress on it, and it's just beautiful. And at that meeting here in this council chambers, it'll be dedicated and we'll recognize it. And we all have the VFW here also. And it's going to be dedicated to the MIA POW and honor chair. And then after that, we will be moving it over to Memorial Day or ceremony down at Veterans Hall. So we have it there. And then after that ceremony, it'll be brought back to the council chambers, and it'll be back in the back corner for permanent status with a, we're making right now the granite stand that it's gonna talk all about the chair and what's meant by it. So mark it for May 16th, come to the council meeting.
Thank you.
Will that be at the 6 o'clock? Are we gonna have a special ceremony
I
for
don't think
that?
we've decided that at this point. I guess we can figure that out
Okay.
next month.
Yes, sounds good. Okay, then I'll continue with mine. Yes, well, I know we're all gonna talk about it, but how exciting was it to have the fire station open up at Fire Station 3? So many of you were there. It was exciting. I know that I live on the East Association right there, and it was so cute. I'm still seeing it. The little boy rides his scooter around on my street that has the fire hat on that you were giving out. So thank you to the city, the fire department for having the cute little handouts because the kids just loved it. And it was a very special day. Your speech was just wonderful. It spoke to the residents and it brought everyone together. And I know Gill lives on the West Side Association, so we are grateful the station is open, so thank you. And the other item too, our police chief, we had her pinning ceremony, and we are so fortunate to have such great leadership with our public safety. So I will stop at that and pass it on to you, but good times in Laverne.
Mr. Crosby.
I actually have no announcements today, so
Is it because of your mask and you'll pass out or what?
I'm not feeling 100%
You
tonight,
just- okay.
so I wanted to make sure that everyone's protected around.
Councilmember Lau.
Thank you for your mask. So just, not to go too far into it, but Fire Station 3, the reopening was a beautiful event. The ceremonial pushing of the truck, I can now cross that off my bucket list, so thank you. So that was very exciting, and please extend my thank you to Captain Moore for the tour of the station. It was a very good conversation, and I appreciated it. So thank you for your leadership there. The badge pinning that just happened with Chief Flores was an amazing way to cap off the end of Women's History Month. She is tiny but mighty, in her own words, and so if you haven't had an opportunity to speak with her or engage with her, I definitely encourage you to do so. She has got just the greatest sense of humor, so she's pretty amazing. But definitely another exciting moment in Laverne history. I also just wanted to, as you all know, we did the proclamation tonight for Donate Life, and to echo the mayor's words, it's really important to make sure you do mark that on your license, get it done with the DMV. I had the opportunity many, many years ago in 2008, which seems like yesterday, but is really like a longer period of time away than I want to believe. But I got to participate in the transplant games and volunteer, and to see the donor families that were there, to see the folks who are surviving and thriving because of someone's kind gift is amazing. I mean, and we're talking everything from little kids to, you know, seniors, and just getting a new leash on life, all because someone took the time to just make sure they checked the appropriate boxes on the DMV and say, yes, please take my eyeballs, take my heart, take my lungs, whatever. I have no need for them where I am going. So definitely encourage everybody after that beautiful presentation, and thank you for sharing the story of your daughter with us. So go home and do that. And then to piggyback on that one, blood drive. The University of Laverne is hosting a blood drive on April 20th. And this blood drive, they will be testing for COVID antibodies. This is to help meet the needs of the immunocompromised that might benefit from the COVID-19 convalescent plasma. And so I'm big on blood donation anyway, but I talk about my dad a lot, but when he got COVID back in December of 2020, they were hoping that they could give him plasma to hopefully get him to be better sooner. Unfortunately, because nobody matched his blood type, that wasn't done until further down the line. And I want to entertain what ifs, because it is what it is, but it haunts me a little bit to think, could something have changed? Could something have been different? So think about that. If you have the capacity, I'm not a big needle person either, and I don't ever look at my arm when they're taking blood out of it, but if I can get through it, I know all of you can. So you can sign up for it at the Red Cross website, and it's easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and you will be doing good work. So I would appreciate that if you have the ability and the time. The other exciting thing that is, I think, an amazing part of Laverne history, Ben Hines Field. There will be an event this Saturday at Ben Hines Field. It's over on Wheeler. It's the baseball doubleheader. So the first game's at 11. Second game will start around 2. But in between that, they will be doing a brief ceremony to honor Ben Hines. And if you don't know Ben Hines, he is was a long time Laverne resident, notable. He coached at the University of Laverne for 20 years, but most notably he was a coach, one of the batting coach for the Dodgers, and worked with Tommy Lasorda for many, many moons. He was inducted into the American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame, as well as the NIAI Hall of Fame. So really exciting. If you go to the University of Laverne's website and register, it is a free event. They will feed you. You just have to be one of the first 400, but it's the Habit. So if you like burgers from the Habit, come out for baseball, come out for some food, come out to celebrate, one of our notables in our own backyard. Super excited about that. So hopefully if you're available, you can make it. And like I said, it's free. And also parking will be at the University of Laverne's parking structure, and they'll shuttle you because they're anticipating that the parking will be kind of wonky up there. So you will get shuttled. And then last but not least, on April 23rd, it is our first in-person ULV gala since the pandemic. And it will be on campus. It should be beautiful. Proceeds go to benefits, student scholarships. So if you are interested, please look on the website and come participate. I also tell you this because there will be valets moving around and doing all the stuff to get everybody situated. So you might want to avoid that particular area of Laverne on the 23rd if you are not attending the event. So that is all. Be kind. It's nice to see everybody's faces. It's just nice to be somewhat normal again.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. So ditto on fire station opening. It was a wonderful event. And ditto on thanks to Captain Moore. It was a illuminating and humorous and very educational tour that he gave Councilmember Lau and myself. It reminded me of the movie The Shining, or not quite the book because it wasn't that good, but it reminded me a little bit of the movie The Shining, and we can talk about that some other time for anybody who's interested. Likewise with solar, I'd be happy to chat out of the council chambers about Southern California Edison, some of the programs that are being offered, how they're being focused, and how some of us are being ignored. But that's a conversation I'd be happy to have with people. Those that have heard me speak about my wonderful company laugh, because I enjoy my company, but I'm also a critic of my company. So be that as it may, the Chief Flores badge, no pun aside, that was an amazing event. So ditto on that, that's one of those bucket list things. Likewise, if you weren't here earlier tonight, look for it on the YouTube later. We celebrated the Benita High School water polo team, Division III CIF champions, and that's why, yes, we'll repair the pool, because we've got a CIF champion. They won multiple championships, so we can't just, let them swim in cold water. I went, when I was at Berkeley, they were a renowned water polo championship in the NCAA's year after year, and finally got the right size pool, because for a while they were swimming in a kiddie pool, which was sort of a joke for a collegiate championship level team. But I digress. The last Wednesday night also was a California Public Banking Association webinar town hall. So if you're interested in looking at public banking, which I'm a proponent of, you might want to look at that and learn some things about opportunities public banking might bring our city with regard to providing new revenue streams. This Saturday, I hope to be able to get to the Ben Hines Tribute. So Ben Hines grew up about 3 houses down on the opposite side of the street. So when they lost, Bruce Hines, the youngest, would come sleep at our house. That's how much Ben liked to win. But I was also hired then because my dad had a green, basically a golf course green capable lawnmower. And when Division I schools would come to play Laverne, Ben would hire me to go down and mow the infield. So that infield was lightning fast. And so while the other team was looking at the fences, which used to be pretty short for Laverne, we were a small bandbox, but they'd be looking to hit home runs. Our guys would be hitting ground balls that would just skate right past their players. And so that was one of Ben's ideas for how to succeed in baseball. You play fast, don't. But he was a great guy. I was the mascot at University of California when he left Laverne and was the assistant coach at Arizona State. Took them to a national championship. That's a whole nother story we can talk about. But I was a mascot and teased them relentlessly during one of the games that they came and visited. On April 22nd, we have the Laverne St. Demas Education Foundation Golf Tournament charity fundraiser for the wellness program that the Ed Foundation is putting on for our students at Benita Unified School District. And this Wednesday, drawing it closer to home, we have the CASI meeting that Mr. Ivey spoke about. And then next Wednesday after that, we have the Pomona Valley Transportation Authority meeting. So those are some of the things coming up in my world. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Well, ditto to all that. I mean, fire station, the badge pinning. I do want to thank for the badge pinning for Chief Flores. I want to thank Yvonne Duran, the Community Services Manager, but I also want to thank Sam Gonzalez and Holly for putting on an unbelievable show. And it's just so nice to see so many badged individuals and family members in one location. I haven't seen that place filled like that when we were doing our campaign and our council and in that, which is amazing. It's just nice to see that everything was positive, nothing but positivity. A lot of great things. Measure LV residents are keeping their money here in Laverne. It's the most important thing is to shop local, keep it local. We have some new businesses popping up, 6 to 10 a month. Make sure you check Laverne, drive around, see what's around here. You'd be surprised. Some businesses go and then other ones pop up, so keep your eye out. I know I do it all the time with Minute with the Mayor. I try to find those places. I get people sending me stuff. It's really important. Keep your money here, keep those businesses lively. You know, they're great, shout out to them on Facebook, as most of us do. I was asked to be at, it was a Victims of Crime 5K walk and run. It was over at Puddingstone. Actually, Ryan Vienna, a council member at San Dimas, invited me along with the mayor of Emmett Bader, along with Michael Alamos, council member of Glendora, and myself, and also Alex Villanueva was there. The sheriff recruits were there. Unbelievable, just an unbelievable affair, and it was really well represented. And you can go online to Victims of Crime and you can donate to it. It was a really nice function. There was hundreds and hundreds of people. They had booths, but a very good cause, and it was very well represented by the Sheriff's Department. I haven't seen so many recruits in my life. There was probably I don't know, 120 recruits that were there, and a lot of sheriff department people. But it's really nice to see Alex Villanueva. I have not met him before, and I was like, oh, well, there he is, you know. So nice person. Got a lot on his plate right now. But again, thank you all. Thank you, council. Thank you, the city. Thank you to our residents for making this place a really great city, and we're getting better and better by the day. And yes, we do have an election coming up, so please, the most important thing is your God-given right is to vote. Do it. Please, do it. It's always important. Support your locals, support whoever candidate you want, but you need to vote. It's very, very important. And we have, let's see, over here, we have a closed session tonight. Is that correct, Mr. Russi?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's under Government Code Section 54957.6, and it'll be to meet with labor negotiators to go meet regarding all employers.
We will not be reporting on that, correct? Then we will adjourn to our next, presentation on April 18th, 2022, 6 o'clock p.m. for presentations of life-saving awards to retired senior volunteer patrol, RSVP members, and Laverne police officers, and for a fire marshal badge pinning ceremony. Our next regular scheduled meeting is Laverne City Council scheduled for Monday, April 18th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Ina, thank you for coming. It's really important. Let's get that information out. Come on, people, get that pink dot on your driver's license. It's very important. We save hundreds and thousands of lives. Thank you all. We adjourn we recess into closed session. We will not be reporting out. We will recess at 7:23. Thank you, everybody.